Hello people of the internet, TW here, and welcome to my review of the final wrestling game from Acclaim, Showdown, Legends of Wrestling. Yeah, I'm going way out of order here, but this channel is basically built on reviewing whatever video game I feel like at the moment, so why stop now? Alright, the gameplay, it's pretty mid, I gotta be honest with you. You have a strike button, a grapple button, and one for ready moves, which are basically maneuvers you can pull off without needing to grapple. It's functional, but not the most responsive, especially compared to what WWE were doing in their games. My biggest critique, really, is that every move does the exact same amount of damage. No differences between a chop or a pile driver are found here. The momentum and finisher systems are interesting at the very least. In order to build it, you must perform at least 2 consecutive moves onto your opponent. If you just trade moves back and forth, then no momentum will be built for anyone. Once it's full, just flick the right stick and your wrestler will automatically perform the finisher regardless of what it is. Downside for me, but finishers don't do enough damage, as most of the time it's not enough to finish matches unless you use it while your opponent's health is borderline near empty. This isn't the biggest deal for some, but for a game that's trying to be old school, kicking out of finishers is about the least old school thing I can imagine. As for the match types, we have your customizable regular match rules, which is fine enough. Next is a steel cage match, where you can ask the ref to open the door, but you just have to button mash like your life depends on it to escape. This honestly just looks goofy, as your wrestler will just stand there like they're waiting for the opponent to stop them because this isn't the finish of the match yet. Following that, we have the ladder match, where you must climb the ladder and, much like the cage match, button mash your way to victory. Fortunately, the button mashing doesn't last nearly as long, so you don't look as silly just standing there in one place. And lastly, we have the tables match. It really seems like the game only wants you to put your opponent through the table via a diving move, unless I was missing something. Be sure to let me know in the comments, as I probably was. Anyways, the gameplay is pretty mid, but the match types are a pretty decent selection, so thumbs in the middle for this part of the game. The roster, however, gets a huge honkin' thumbs up. On top of a lot of returning legends from the previous games, we have some additions including Randy Savage, DDP, and Sting! Some of these people haven't been in a wrestling game since the year 2000. On top of that, for announcing duties, we have Gary Malcocupeta, and on commentary it's Tony Schiavone, Larry Zbyszko, and Bobby Heenan. All these elements really give the game a 90s WCW feel to it, and you know what? That's pretty rad. It at least gives the brand a better game to go out on than WCW Backstage Assault. The entrances are fine enough. A taunt at the stage, a walking cycle, followed by a unique animation in the ring, finished by an in-ring taunt. Not a bad formula by any stretch, but nothing really all that mind-blowing. The best part of the presentation, in my humblest of opinions, though, are all the real-life arenas featured in Showdown. Pontiac Silverdome, Tokyo Dome, Madison Square Garden, Cow Palace, and many more, and they're all represented beautifully, and I can't imagine getting the licenses for all these venues was cheap. As for the single-player modes, there's one that allows you to play through classic non-copyright infringing matches. Outside of the text before the match begins and the participants in it, this is definitely a far cry from what we get in WWE games many years later, but this was 2004 and the technology was pretty limited back then. Now, for the other one, it's basically a glorified gauntlet mode disguised as a story mode. Not a fan, and it really makes me miss the one from Legends of Wrestling 2. On a bright of sorts note, I suppose, the devs did include a memoriam for all the wrestlers featured in the game who had passed away up until the point of this game's release, and you know what? That's actually kind of nice. Always like seeing sentimental things like this in video games. And if you need to know how to play the game, then allow Brett Hitman Hart to teach you with some tutorial videos. So, that was Showdown Legends of Wrestling. It's very, very middle of the road for me. The presentation is top-notch for 2004, but the gameplay feels more like 1999, and when it comes to wrestling games, gameplay is the key to making it all work. This is why WWE 2K20 got dunked on for 2 years while 2K22 gets praised. Gameplay, baby! I hope you all enjoyed my run-throughs of these past few wrestling games. If nothing else, I hope what can be taken away from these reviews is that there's more to gaming and wrestling in general than just WWE, you know? The world of wrestling games is so vast that if you just play WWE games, you're cutting yourself off from some very, very, very unique experiences. Anyways, this will be my final wrestling game review up until AEW Fight Forever is released. What will I review until then? Well, I recently got a new console, so let's play an exclusive, shall we?
Stop acting like a bitch, dog!